Today we're going to talk about a dark subject, one surrounded with pain and hard feelings and emotional wounds. That subject is male genital mutilation, otherwise known as circumcision, and in particular the form of circumcision done to infants. So newborns or children who are so young they are just completely helpless and dependent on their mothers. The idea of turning them over to someone or other to cut and mutilate and rip off like 40% of the most sensitive tissue in their body when they're that age. There's so much to say about this, and I'll just say briefly, you have the long-term impact I probably shouldn't jump to the long-term impact. Just the short-term. Picture this. The boy is violated in a horrible way of incredible pain, usually with no anesthetic, at a time when he's completely dependent on his parents, and particularly his mother. So the critics of this have looked at it, the psychological effects, and the boy loses trust for his mother. How can he not? How can he continue to trust someone who has done this to him? So mothers report this, that they see a change in their child at 8 days or whenever the circumcision occurred. Their quality of their bond is way damaged, and that damage may play out for the rest of life and may be connected with psychological pathologies that are run higher in adulthood among the people who have had this done to them. If we look, the people who were circumcised are generally have all more psychological issues and are more likely to be pathologically a pathological force in the rest of society, sociopaths. So that's one of the downsides, and maybe I'm a sociopath. I don't know. I definitely, it was done to me when I was very young. It might have been the same time my mother bore me. It might have been that same hospital trip. I didn't get those details. But that's one thing. So you have the immediate damage and the damage to the mother-son bond that is always carries this scar. This scar comes in at a time before there can be conscious awareness of it. Like it would be another thing to go through that process as a rite of passage into puberty. Then at least the young man could psych up for it and could be knowing he's making a sacrifice and choosing it consciously. And I could see where adolescent circumcision could somehow maybe be made less evil, but hitting the infant this way is it's hard to argue that could be good. Now the pro-circumcision people allege these health benefits of having the outer protective layer of the penis cut away. They say it's easier to keep clean and so on, but if that's worth this mutilation, I don't know. But the adult impact is a much reduced feeling of pleasure and joy, and a much more difficult intercourse because the male's natural lubricity that would be available through that, the way that organ that's been removed worked, is it makes everything slipperier and work better, and it turns out that removing the sense, and it makes, anyway, cutting it away makes the what remains, the mutilated organ, is less sensitive, and those men are, according to women who've had partners of circumcised and uncircumcised men, it makes those men less able to enjoy vaginal intercourse, and it turns out that lack of sensitivity, they have lower sensitivity, so they find the vagina not as tight and grippy enough to give the sensation to their mutilated member. So it turns out they end up having a much higher percentage of men wanting to go for sodomy, for anal intercourse, or other techniques to try and turn up the volume on their damaged instrument, which doesn't work properly. So those are some of the drawbacks of circumcision. And if you are a parent considering this, I pray that you take this into account, you do your research. I'll link below to some really good essays on this topic and research papers, and you can decide for yourself. But I would say it's not right to mutilate anyone. And if someone wants to do it, they let them do it when they come of age, the age of consent. Let it be done with consent. And that's my report and my recommendations, and with much love, and may we make a beautiful future. That's it.